Not every man openly communicates his feelings through words. Many men, due to social conditioning or personal insecurities, find it difficult or uncomfortable to verbally express the depth of their emotions. This doesn't mean they lack feeling or emotional depth. Rather, they often communicate affection and attachment in more subtle and understated ways. For many men, feelings of vulnerability may feel daunting or even intimidating, resulting in silence or indirect gestures as safer avenues to convey affection and emotional commitment. Understanding this concept can significantly transform how you perceive the emotional signals someone sends to you, especially when words are not their primary mode of communication. There is a myriad of ways in which a man might unintentionally demonstrate emotional attachment through his behaviors, gestures, and unconscious actions. Perhaps it's in the lingering gaze he holds when you're speaking, or the subtle ways in which he adjusts his behavior to align with yours. Sometimes it's the quiet attentiveness he gives to even the smallest details you share, remembering information about you long after you might have forgotten mentioning it. His actions can reveal a world of emotional truths that his words have yet to articulate. People's emotional worlds often operate on two levels: the conscious, where emotions and thoughts are expressed openly, and the subconscious, a deeper, more concealed emotional reservoir. In this hidden layer, true attachment and affection can reside silently, manifesting themselves through subtle clues rather than overt declarations. For many men, especially those who might have grown up being taught that vulnerability is a weakness, this subconscious emotional expression is common. It's crucial, therefore, to become more observant and sensitive to these unspoken signals if you wish to truly understand how emotionally involved someone is. Often, body language can communicate volumes more than spoken language ever could. For example, the distance someone chooses to keep during conversations, or the frequency with which they touch your arm or shoulder during interactions, can speak clearly about their inner emotional state. A subtle lean in your direction, a habitual mirroring of your movements, or even subconscious gestures such as adjusting clothing, fixing their hair, or nervously tapping fingers. These small physical signs can betray a deeper emotional connection. Moreover, when someone is emotionally attached, there can be shifts in their behavior that they themselves might not even fully realize. They may become more protective or more concerned about your emotional and physical well-being, reacting more intensely than usual when you are upset or in distress. They might also demonstrate an increased curiosity about your personal life, interests, opinions, or daily routine. Even if they never say directly that they care deeply, their consistent interest and engagement in your life is often proof of emotional attachment. Ultimately, understanding that emotional expression comes in multiple forms beyond words is essential for deeper emotional intimacy. Recognizing that many men might prefer to show rather than speak about their attachment can lead you to stronger connections and richer relationships. It encourages empathy, patience, and sensitivity, helping you better interpret the real feelings hidden beneath the surface of silence. When someone is emotionally attached, the evidence rarely lies solely in obvious expressions or grand gestures. Instead, attachment often reveals itself through subtle, unconscious signals, those quiet, hidden behaviors that someone displays without even realizing it. These unintentional signs, easily overlooked if you're not paying attention, speak directly from the subconscious, often expressing feelings too profound or vulnerable to openly acknowledge. Recognizing and decoding these invisible clues can help you clearly identify the depth of his emotional connection to you, allowing for a deeper understanding of the dynamics within your relationship. One key sign of emotional attachment is found in his eyes. A gaze can be incredibly revealing and often communicates what words cannot. You may notice that his eyes frequently search for you in a crowd or linger a moment longer when he meets your gaze. Subconsciously, someone emotionally invested will naturally gravitate toward looking at the person to whom they feel connected, reflecting the depth of interest, admiration, or attachment through a sustained gaze. It's a natural instinct, a subtle but powerful signal that he is drawn to you emotionally and perhaps romantically. Another unconscious indication of emotional attachment is mirrored behavior. Humans have an innate tendency to mimic or reflect the body language, speech patterns, and gestures of those they feel close to or wish to form bonds with. If you notice him unconsciously mirroring your posture, gestures, or even expressions, it's a subtle yet undeniable indication of emotional alignment. This synchronization is rarely intentional. It simply happens when emotional resonance is present, signaling that he feels deeply connected and attuned to your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. In addition, someone emotionally attached to you might display subtle protective behaviors. He may instinctively position himself between you and perceived threats or challenges, no matter how minor. This protective instinct arises naturally out of emotional investment, reflecting his subconscious desire to shield you from discomfort, harm, or distress. Even simple acts like checking if you're comfortable, making sure you're safe when crossing a busy street, or quietly observing your reaction during moments of tension indicate a deeper emotional involvement than he might openly acknowledge. Furthermore, he may unconsciously reveal his attachment through small gestures of attentiveness and care. For example, he might remember details about your interests, preferences, and stories that you've shared, even those seemingly insignificant. This unconscious memory recall often emerges spontaneously in casual conversations or thoughtful gestures, such as remembering how you like your coffee, noticing when you're tired without you mentioning it, or recalling small anecdotes that demonstrate he has genuinely absorbed information about you. These subtle acts of attentiveness are powerful signs of emotional investment, signaling that his subconscious has marked you as someone special. Finally, emotional attachment can surface through subtle shifts in his mood and demeanor around you. You may notice he becomes more energized, attentive, or animated in your presence, or conversely quieter, more introspective and reflective, revealing a depth of emotional intensity beneath the surface. These subconscious emotional reactions, whether excitement or nervousness, point toward the inner significance he has attached to your presence in his life. By recognizing these subtle, invisible clues, you gain access to a deeper understanding of the emotional currents running beneath the surface of your interactions, allowing you to see clearly the emotional bond he may still be too shy or hesitant to express verbally. Have you ever found yourself wondering whether he's emotionally attached to you despite him never explicitly verbalizing it? Have you experienced those moments where his actions seem to communicate something deeper, yet his words remain guarded or entirely absent? Perhaps you've noticed subtle behaviors, his lingering presence, the way he hesitates before saying goodbye, or how frequently he seems to find reasons to be near you, even though he doesn't openly acknowledge a strong emotional connection. These subtle clues can create an emotional puzzle, prompting you to question whether there's more beneath the surface than he's willing to express. It's common for people to sense when someone feels deeply about them, even without explicit verbal confirmation. Our intuition often picks up emotional truths that logic alone might not capture clearly. Perhaps you felt an invisible tension, an undeniable chemistry that exists between you and him, quietly present even in the simplest interactions. Does he subtly shift his behavior around you, perhaps becoming more cautious, gentle, or even slightly nervous? Such adjustments, though seemingly minor, can reflect his underlying emotional state, revealing feelings that he may still be trying to understand or accept himself. Moreover, consider if you've caught him in those quiet moments, when he believes no one is paying attention, observing you with a thoughtful or even longing gaze. Has he ever seemed startled or embarrassed after realizing that you've caught him looking? Moments like these speak to feelings that reside below the surface, quietly revealing emotional vulnerability that he hasn't yet consciously decided to share. The fleeting embarrassment or awkwardness afterward only reinforces the idea that these emotions are genuine, perhaps even deeper than he's comfortable admitting openly. Furthermore, you might have noticed that his attention to your words, your stories, or even your daily habits appears more attentive than would be typical between casual acquaintances or even friends. Perhaps he remembers details from conversations you yourself have forgotten, or he subtly adapts to your preferences, without making a big deal about it. Have you considered why he might remember those details, or pay attention to small things others usually overlook? His emotional investment may be driving his subconscious behaviors, leaving behind clues that his rational self hasn't openly acknowledged yet. Lastly, consider if you've observed changes in how he reacts to your emotional states. Does he seem more affected than usual when you express sadness, disappointment, or frustration? Maybe you've seen concern flicker in his eyes, or noticed his instinctive desire to comfort or reassure you, even when he restrains himself from fully expressing. These spontaneous reactions can demonstrate an emotional bond that transcends mere friendship or casual acquaintance. They reveal an emotional depth that emerges naturally, suggesting that your emotional well-being has genuinely become important to him, even if he's not entirely comfortable expressing why. Reflecting upon these questions encourages a deeper, intuitive exploration of your relationship, allowing you to better interpret his subtle, silent expressions of emotional attachment. Often, simply recognizing and acknowledging these indirect clues can illuminate the truth of his emotions more clearly than words ever could. Sometimes emotional connections transcend verbal communication, unfolding quietly in the subtle language of gestures, glances, and unspoken interactions. He may not consciously recognize how deeply he's emotionally connected to you, yet these subconscious feelings manifest themselves naturally through nonverbal signs. Even when he's unaware of it himself, his inner emotional landscape quietly aligns with yours, generating a silent harmony between you both. Understanding this unspoken emotional dynamic can offer profound insights into your relationship, revealing an intimacy deeper than spoken words alone can convey. One common indication of such nonverbal emotional connection is his responsiveness to your moods and emotional shifts. You might notice that his energy subtly adjusts to match yours. When you're joyful, his happiness quietly mirrors yours, and when you're upset or worried, he instinctively shifts into a supportive or protective mode, even without being fully aware he's doing so. Such sensitivity emerges subconsciously when emotional bonds are strong, creating an intuitive attunement to your emotional frequency. Another important aspect of non-verbal emotional connection lies in proximity and physical space. He may unconsciously position himself closer to you than to others in group settings, naturally gravitating toward your presence. Physical proximity can be an instinctive manifestation of emotional closeness, reflecting a subconscious desire to feel connected, safe, and in tune with your energy. Even subtle movements toward you, like leaning in during conversations or casually adjusting his posture to face you directly, quietly indicate his subconscious comfort and attachment. Additionally, the way he listens to you can speak volumes about his emotional connection. Emotionally attached individuals tend to unconsciously exhibit active and empathetic listening behaviors. You might notice he gives you undivided attention, even in moments when others might become distracted. His eyes remain attentive, he nods subtly as you speak, and his expressions unconsciously shift to match your emotions. These spontaneous reactions reflect a subconscious bond of empathy, signaling that your thoughts and feelings matter deeply to him, even if he hasn't explicitly expressed it. His actions may also demonstrate subconscious emotional attachment through seemingly casual gestures of care or nurturing. For instance, he might instinctively ensure you feel comfortable or safe in different situations, or unconsciously check in on you during stressful or tiring moments. Small gestures like bringing you something you didn't realize you needed, adjusting the environment to make you comfortable, or intuitively offering emotional reassurance highlight a subconscious sense of responsibility or concern that arises from genuine emotional attachment. Moreover, his emotional investment might surface subtly in the way he speaks about you when you're not around. You might learn from mutual friends or colleagues that he often mentions you positively or expresses appreciation for qualities he's never explicitly mentioned directly to you. This subconscious verbal affirmation, shared with others rather than openly with you, can be a revealing indication of deeper feelings that he hasn't yet consciously accepted or communicated directly. Recognizing these subtle manifestations of emotional attachment can transform your perspective on your connection, helping you appreciate the depth of feelings that exist beyond words. It's in this silent space of unconscious emotional alignment that true intimacy often blossoms, quietly nurturing bonds that have the potential to become profound, lasting, and meaningful. In this article, we'll explore 7 subtle yet powerful signs that suggest he's emotionally attached to you, even if he hasn't openly acknowledged it. Understanding these signals will empower you to see beyond spoken words and discover the deeper emotional truths he may be quietly expressing. By learning to recognize these silent indicators, you'll gain insight into his subconscious feelings, allowing you to build a more authentic and intimate connection. The heart often communicates quietly, subtly revealing itself through tiny gestures, unconscious habits, or fleeting expressions that may pass unnoticed if you're not carefully attuned to them. The 7 signs we'll examine include everything from the way he looks at you, mirroring your gestures and body language, to subtle shifts in his behavior that betray a deeper, unspoken emotional commitment. Each of these indicators offers clues that his heart may be already emotionally invested, even if his words haven't yet caught up with his feelings. You'll learn how to decode his nonverbal communication, such as the significance of prolonged eye contact, gentle protective gestures, or an increased attentiveness to your emotional well-being. Each small detail, when observed carefully, tells a bigger story about the emotional landscape he holds within. These clues not only reflect the depth of his feelings, but also indicate the seriousness of his emotional investment in your relationship. Furthermore, by becoming aware of these subtle signs, you gain an advantage in nurturing your connection. You'll understand how to respond empathetically, building trust and safety that may eventually encourage him to express his feelings more openly. Recognizing his emotional attachment, even when he remains verbally silent, can create a foundation for deeper intimacy, allowing the relationship to flourish naturally and authentically. You'll no longer feel confused or uncertain because you'll have the tools to see clearly what's happening beneath the surface. It's important to remember that emotional connections often begin silently, shaped by unconscious desires, fears, and vulnerabilities. By tuning into these nonverbal signs, you're allowing yourself to meet him exactly where he is emotionally, without pressure or misunderstanding. This sensitivity can foster greater openness and deeper emotional dialogue, leading to a relationship built on genuine mutual understanding rather than assumptions or misunderstandings. As we delve into these 7 signs, keep an open mind and consider how each might apply to your own unique experiences. Emotional attachment manifests differently for each person, and understanding his personal patterns of nonverbal communication is key to deciphering what his heart is truly feeling. By approaching these subtle cues with patience, curiosity, and empathy, you open the door for genuine emotional growth, potentially guiding your relationship toward greater intimacy, honesty, and mutual fulfillment. Ultimately, the purpose of uncovering these 7 unconscious signals is to help you recognize and appreciate the quiet ways in which love, affection, and emotional investment can be expressed. After all, the most authentic feelings are often communicated quietly, through actions rather than words. By understanding this, you'll find clarity in what he feels, even when he remains silent, because the heart indeed speaks loudest when the mouth remains quiet.